For decades, Pioneer Car Electronics have been supporting automotive events nationwide, just like Joe's Minibike Reunion. No matter what you drive, Pioneer's got the gear to upgrade your ride so that it sounds better and it connects you to the latest in technology like Android Auto, Bluetooth, Apple CarPlay, and the popular Alexa. Remember, don't break up with your car, upgrade it with Pioneer Car Electronics. For more, check them out at pioneercarelectronics.com.
This is the Candyman from Studs Racing. We've got tires, and tires. We've got big ones, small ones, street ones, off-road ones. Oh my God. Why do we have so many tires? Tires. We have so many enough tires. Come on and get your tires.
Oh my God, we got so many tires.
Tires. Come see us. Dearborn Heights, Michigan, studsracing.com.
Hey everybody, I'd like to give a special Joe's Minibike Reunion welcome to our friends at Yoshimura. Yoshimura can be reached at yoshimura-rd.com. They're going to be live at Joe's Minibike Reunion giving away some cool systems. They also have a lot of promotional opportunities that you could take advantage of, including their expertise about product design and R&D. Yoshimura-rd.com. Check them out. Hey everybody, when you talk about the mini bike scene, there's one name you need to know, and it's Jake Moe. He's coming up next on Joe's Minibike Reunion podcast. Don't move for a moment. Hey everybody, welcome to Joe's Minibike Reunion podcast. This is season 7, episode 11. I usually get that shit right or wrong. See, just like that. Brought to you by our friends at Pioneer Car Electronics. We've got a great podcast in store for you today, everybody. Jake Moe of MoeFabCo will be joining us. You guys know Jake. He's been on the podcast more than I have. He's a legend in the industry. He's one of the best builders around. He's got a couple of things that he's working on that I want to find out a little bit more about. I want to get a couple updates on some bikes that he's been working on. Luckily for me, one of them may be mine. And we'll also catch up with all the activity that's happening up there at the AV. It's been a minute since I've been up there, and, you know, I guess we're all back to normal now. So we'll be out riding and hitting AV and finding out what's going on, all the escapades, and I guess all the name guys up there that are making shit happen. I want to give a shout out to my man Charlie. Who else we got out there? We've got Zoom. There's a bunch of guys that I'm sure we'll be bringing up when Jake joins us. But before we get to Jake Moe, I want to take a moment to thank you all for watching. It's been pretty warm over here in Los Angeles, but I understand it's pretty warm everywhere. I have to expect that. It's August, and it's that's what it does. It makes you hot and crazy. but hopefully in a good way. Hopefully you guys have been working on your mini bikes and you've been out enjoying this nice weather and riding. I have every Friday night. Like a little girl, I get ready for my little Friday night rides with my buddies, and I get all excited about it, and we text each other, and we pick out our shit to wear the night before. We do all that dumb shit that no one talks about because we love it. I love getting out there, and I want to give a shout out to all my buddies at Honda Grom Lifestyle, particularly my man Bing, my buddies Bernie, Ernesto, and Digger. In fact, I want to give a shout out to Digger Welch. Digger was on a recent podcast, and he was very, very popular. People love him. He's now getting a big friggin' head and an agent and turning Hollywood on me. That's probably him calling right now. But thank you, Dean, for a really good podcast. I also want to take a moment just to do a little business. You know, we do this podcast largely to entertain ourselves as well as promote Joe's Minibike Reunion. We have had an earthquake, folks. Just did you hear that? It's nothing. Somebody dropped a beer. We've got a lot happening with the event, and that's what I want to talk about. October the 8th. Register now, joesminibikereunion.com. You can save some money. We've had a lot of support come in lately. There's going to be a lot of cool giveaways. GTS stepped up first, and we're giving away a rolling frame. I think it's an 8-inch or a 10-inch setup, whatever Rafa decides to do. We've got that bike for a giveaway. Today, we just finalized our deals with Go-Kart USA. And they will be on hand as a sponsor. They're also sponsoring the podcast. And they, too, will be giving away their American Racer frame. I try to get them to do a roller. In fact, they're going to do a roller. So we're going to have a roller from American Racer. That's with Go-Kart USA under that umbrella. Check them out at gokartusa.com. A big shout out to Mario and Al for the continued support. I love those models, the American Racer, because it reminds me of a damn Bonanza. And I had my hands on one. Al sent me one back when they were starting to push them. You can check them out online. They're pretty cool. I typically what I always do is when I get something, I call Jake Moe, and I either ask him to help me with it or build it. And he's had one, an American Racer model, and I've seen some spy photos, and he's customized a new tank, and he's done his typical shtick. And we'll actually talk a little bit more about that when Jake joins us, but that's going to be a version. You're going to have a chance to see their stock models that they have on display, as well as when you go to the extreme and customize it via MoeFabCo. So I'm looking forward to having them on site. We just recently had renewals for product sponsorship from Mother's Wax and Polishes. We also had some support from our friend at Coker Tires, and what that means is that we get all cool stuff from them. They load us up with Mother's Polish, the wax, the window cleaner. Coker's giving away gift certificates for their white wall tires. In fact, they've got a set of, they kind of start around 10-inch. So for those bigger tire bikes that are out there, and we're seeing a lot of those bigger tire bikes become more popular, largely because they're riding a lot more now. They're riding on the streets, and having that bigger tire is kind of the way to go. So check out cokertire.com. They've come on board. We have Suds Racing that's on board. I don't know. Maybe you want to get on board. There's a sponsor right now calling. Check us out. We'd be more than happy to create a program for you on site if you'd like to be a sponsor. We have a slew of awards that we're making available for the participants. I'm working on some really cool trophies. We also have some cool food trucks that are going to be there. You know, I've always been challenged. How can I have an event for 10 years and have a problem with food truck for 11? I've always had a problem with food trucks. And this year, Emmanuel's buddy, is it Bruce? What's the name of the company? BBQ or?
Bruce's Twisted Barbecue.
See, once it says Twisted, I love it, right? So he's going to be there on site slinging some meat. I'm probably going to have somebody do some tacos as well, whether it's Bruce or somebody else. So we'll have something for you. We draw a lot of friends who like tacos, so I got to have some tacos in the mix. Or we're going to have that LA donut gal where you can get like chocolate donuts with bacon and sausage and shit on it. So it's going to be good. The event, as you know, is a one-day event in a beautiful backdrop at CV Park in La Crescenta. I hope you join us. I bet we have a record crowd. I don't know why. You know, it's been a long time coming. We had 2 years where it was dark. People want to get out. They've been building bikes. They've been spending some money. They've been having fun. Hopefully you are one of those guys who have been building your bike and you're ready to come. I've got some cool t-shirts being designed. I need some help. You know, over 10 years, I've done every friggin' color on the kaleidoscope, right? So now I'm thinking Dodger blue. I mean, if you've got a suggestion, let me know. We've done red. We've done black more times than over the years, we've covered all the colors. If you've got a suggestion, let me know. Also, our last podcast, I reviewed all of our categories for judging. I think judging sucks. I don't want you to come to the show to win an award or get pissed off because you didn't win a trophy. Grow up or fucking stay home. What I want you to do is come and meet people and share what you know as well as learn from others, but have a good time, right? But because judging is important to others, okay, I got to acquiesce and I understand that. I've got some categories. Go to my website, Joe's Minibike Reunion, click on categories. If you see a category that you know your bike fits in, great. If you see some categories that I may have missed, let me know now. Don't wait for me after the event where I'm all excited and you try to bring me down, pissed off about not winning an award. Because at this time, I'll probably kill you. Really, stay home. Don't come to win an award, but if you come, we've got plenty of them. We also give away some great gifts. I built podiums this year. You know those square blocks that the Olympians stand on? I've got them. We're going MMA. We're going to be breaking you out behind the stage. And the way that we're going to have the judging work this year is that our judges will not be responsible for bringing in the winning bike. They'll be responsible for bringing to us the top 3 bikes in each category. Those 3 bikes will then be brought in front of the crowd. And by their applause, that's how the winner will be announced. That's it. Hall of Fame. We've got 6 guys going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. The one I'm most excited about joins us now. He's Jake Moe from MoeFabCo. Jake, you know how it is. I got to do the business before we bring you on. But, brother, it's great to see you. How are you?
Good. Yeah, great.
Nice.
Great to be here. I like the new spot. It's awesome.
It's E.
Yeah.
You know, we're going Hollywood. I do
Thanks,
too.
E.
Yep, he's doing a good job. He looks handsome, doesn't he? Lost 60 pounds.
He looks great. Yeah, I didn't notice him. He walked out on the street. I was like, holy cow.
It's great. We've been walking a little bit and catching up, and he's been busy. He's been hanging around with William Shatner all weekend.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah, he's a big shot, talking Star Trek and all that stuff. He's a geek, you know, as you went to that Comic-Con thing. Are you one of those guys? Are you like a...
Comic-Con guy? No.
Nah.
No, not really.
Yeah, look,
I think it's kind of cool. I could probably could have got into it really easily, but...
Dude, I have not seen E.T. I've not seen Star Wars.
Yeah. Star Wars, yes.
I wasn't a Trekkie.
No Star Wars?
No, I think I was a Gigantor speed racer, fucking, you know,
you go.
F-Troop guy, so I missed all that. But he's been going out doing a lot of things. He's on his own hustle now. He's working his own gig, so it's nice to see you guys get together. This is probably your 5th or 6th time on the podcast, huh?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe 5.
It's always great to have you, and it's always effortless. At some point, we'll drag down some of the guys from the AV. I think we're talking about maybe having AVR Zoom and maybe Zoom Junior roll down there with us at some point. So that's always an open invitation, as well as having you on. What's been happening? What's the latest in the AV?
It's all good up there. Yeah, I let him know last time, and it was just the scheduling. I ended up not going because it was like, I think it was like a couple days he let me know. So
It happens,
just
Jake.
couldn't make it. But
Look, it happens.
yeah.
So there's always an open mat for you.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
We've been doing a lot of racing up there, and doing a lot of the drag bike stuff.
Sure.
A lot of the guys up there, our little team of guys up there, they're really into the, hitting 100-mile-an-hour thing.
Well, you've got the area, right?
Yeah. We got open streets.
The Antelope Valley is a little bit different than maybe what you see on some of the more current videos that are posted online, particularly Instagram, where you see these ride outs and we're riding with the ocean next to us, and we're riding on the 10 freeway or over the 6th Street Bridge. Not much of that out there at the AV, which is kind of good news, bad news, because you're kind of left with an open drag strip at just about every turn. Everywhere you go, you can really ride as fast as you can. Plus, you're a veteran up there. You know all the little spots that riding along the reservoir there, which was just beautiful and peaceful. So it's kind of conducive to riding fast out there, and you breed those fast guys out there. Jake is a pretty modest guy, but when you go to the AV, going 70 miles an hour is not going to cut it. I have what I think is a pretty fast bike that pales in comparison, and many of them are deceiving. They're not the most styled out bikes. They are a little reminiscent of maybe some of these bent fork bikes you see with maybe matching or mismatching tires and wheels, and God knows what that thing is for a pipe, but that thing will go 85 backwards. So it's humbling when you go out there. You guys really are speed merchants out there. That's always been the case, hasn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, we had the AV ride, and it was more of a, it wasn't really like everybody gets together and just rides long distance. It was more of a, the gas-powered stuff. You have you bring it out, it's going to need maintenance. There's different things you're going to have to fix and jetting. And, I just wanted more of a chance for guys to come out and just more or less test their bikes.
That's really what you've become, Jake. You've become an ambassador and a host there, where not only can these guys come out, you got to be prepared when you ride out there, right? So you always ask those guys to have bikes that they've already shaken out. Yeah. But I think a lot of those guys come knowing their shit's not tight, but they got guys like you that can help them out.
Yeah, and it's not a real long distance ride, so everybody will kind of split off and then kind of meet up in the same general area. So if you need to go out and test your bike, it's a good chance to go do that. And
I liked it. D would show up with his rolling parts and accessories, and you'd have Rafa show up, and other guys would have, if they didn't have the tools or the parts that you may need. And look, when you get over 50 bikes, which you typically probably have, if not close to that, and you were riding, tanks full of gas, going through 2 or 3 tanks of gas. We're out there for a while. Things are going to happen with those smaller bikes. It's just the nature of the beast. And a lot of guys who may not have that ability to just go to their buddy next door and fix it, they may be miles away from either a shop or somebody they know that can help them. When they come out to those AV rides, they get that little earful of advice. They get a little bit, move over. I'll show you how to jet that thing. I'll show you how to, and you've done that with me. Right. And so I not only do I appreciate that, but I think many of the folks that come out there and get that AV experience from you, that they go back a little bit smarter and a little bit better at what they do.
Yeah, and a little safer, and hopefully they can get their bike dialed in a little bit, and just so it makes it more rideable and they can enjoy it. But
have you been keeping up with some of these rides, these ride outs?
Yeah, I want to go to one. They look fun. It's it's a lot of stuff. It's a little different than what I'm used to, but I think it'd be fun to get out there and hit it. I seen you went to that one. I wanted to get out there with when you went that one time.
Yeah, it's a little bit different from what we do at the AV. We kind of show up, we socialize, we take a little ride.
That one, your bike better be ready to go.
Yeah. And
otherwise you're gonna get left behind.
So we went from Martin Luther King Park down past the airport, through Santa Monica to the pier and back. And it was amazing that I didn't encounter a problem, but along the way you see a lot of bikes that do encounter problems. Yeah. And it's kind of a rude awakening for them, because you're stuck in that situation where, okay, like that guy's broken down, right? Looks like he's got 2 guys there. Okay, I'm gone. But then you see a solo dude and he's pulled over and you can tell he don't have any tools on him. You see a flat tire, or you see him with his hands on his head. It's like, do I stop or not? Because it becomes a little cutthroat when you're out there, because it's almost every man for himself. But I went out there a little insecure, and I brought a backpack full of tools, and I had the best tool with me because I was riding along with Daryl. And, Daryl could fix anything on the fly. Yeah. And inevitably, he adjusted my carb a little bit better than I was able to. My throttle got loose, and he kind of fixed it. But he was doing that for other people. He's like bouncing around as a little bit of an ambassador, helping everybody out. And I love that part of it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'd be afraid of. I'd get out there and see everybody broke down and have to turn around and stop and help
especially you, where people do that. You've got that. Like, but, I think that's your place. What have you been, back to you. So what's going on at MoeFabCo? I know you kind of bounced off of Facebook and are more Instagram and more business focused now. You kind of got over all the Facebook nonsense?
Yeah, Facebook was, it's good. I'll probably get back to it eventually with more like the business, maybe just MoeFabCo or something like that. But it was just too much of a distraction. I had to, focus. The Instagram's a little easier. You can just, it's not, people don't go at it too much on Instagram. Yeah, it's just easier for me.
Facebook seemed a little bit Twitter-like.
Right.
Where people were more apt to show their ass than maybe in Instagram. It seems a little bit more celebratory, a little bit more rah-rah, a little bit more one for all for one. I like the spirit of that. We've crossed over a little bit too with some of our efforts. Okay. I think that largely because our established base came from Facebook. Yeah. Before Instagram was kind of the thing. Right. Or the gram. Right. So we're old school, but we're slowly transitioning, and that's where we got guys like you to kind of help us with that. We remind you, in light of that, that if you haven't had the chance to take a moment, what's your Instagram page?
It's MoeFabCo.
All right, so check him out there, but also check us out. We also ask you to go to JMBR Podcast on YouTube and subscribe. And what do? They ring the bells, and you do a flip off a trapeze, and you make a comment, and you do all that stuff. And we're trying to get to 1,000 because there's some algorithm that switches. This is all from me that we need to get to. So if you'd like to support us, do that. Also, I don't know, we've tried to attract as many folks that used to watch on the Facebook Live airings of these podcasts. And as we've now changed to this new format of pre-recording and airing them like all other podcasts do, we're just asking you guys to kind of transition a little bit there if you'd like what we're doing. Okay, back to you, Jake. So you've always, I can imagine that this sound or the phone ringing or the bings on the computer have been overwhelming over the years for you with folks interested in you helping them with mini bikes. And with the family, in fact, we've got your son Logan here with us in the studio now. Give a shout out to Courtney and the entire Moe family out there in the AV. Thanks for sharing Jake and Logan with us. We'll have them back safe soon. But at some point, did you get to that point where there was too much of mini bike onslaught and you had to kind of figure out things?
Yeah, I mean, it's always kind of been that way. So I try to balance it because I work full-time for the city at the same time. Hopefully at some point I can, full-time do my thing. I mean, that's the long-term goal. So hopefully you can eventually get there. But yeah, it's just a balance, with family. I have 3 kids now. They're growing crazy quick, so
Sure.
It's hard to miss any moments with them, really.
Yeah, your time is, the personal time becomes a little bit more important.
Exactly.
I know that when it gets to Joe's
yeah.
Minibike Reunion time, that house is full.
Oh yeah, I pick and choose on projects, and I have a lot of people that hit me up that I just can't, accommodate or whatever.
What are examples of the customers that you can accommodate and those on the other spectrum that immediately give off signals that you probably want to take a pass? Can you give folks a little bit of an insight there so they can figure out where they fit in?
It's really like, I guess it comes down to my interest at the same time. If it's a project that I'm not really, because I'm at the point where I got so many people coming to me where I can pick and choose, if I want to take on a project,
Well-earned,
if it's gonna,
yeah,
if it's something that can promote me better, you know what I mean, as far as the fabrication side of things. But there's a lot of things where people just want like a motor setup or a throttle setup or an engine cammed in springs or, more basic stuff.
So the job could conceivably be just a little bit too small.
Yeah, somewhat.
Yeah.
And I'm more of the metal fabrication, so I'll take on some of the more smaller metal fabrication stuff, but not much of the maintenance. I try to stay away from that as much.
So would your preference be that someone ring you up based on what they've heard and what they've seen and who you are, that they just called you up and had you build a bike from spec? Is that the cleanest way that you think, works better for them as a customer? Or do you find that there are folks that you don't mind taking on their project that they started? Is there a balance or a preference that you have?
Not really, just you guys can hit me up and we can go from there.
Well, you've
Pretty
done it
much.
with me. I brought you a box
Yeah.
of parts, which turned out to be Frankenstein.
Yep.
For those of you who haven't seen Frankenstein, it's out there. Me and Eve
It's a
done
fitting
some-
name.
Well, there's you see a lot of Frankensteins with a lot of
Yeah.
parts that are cobbled
Yeah.
up. I like to think ours is a little bit special. We did some stupid video. If you guys are bored enough, go. I think it's online somewhere. The Frankenstein video that he and I did. We had a lot of fun with it. That has a
Oh,
suicide.
it's like a Halloween feel. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, that was
Good
good.
evening, that Boris Karloff shit. It also has a suicide break.
Well,
pull
I have
break.
some pictures of your buddy had the Frankenstein mask, right, at the
Yes,
show.
Scott Timberlake. He's
And
certainly getting.
I see Tim lurking around in the background of that picture. It's pretty good. I'll have to-
So Scott puts on the. I say, Scott, do me a favor, because he was driving me nuts in a good way. Like I said, Scott, here's the deal. When participants come in, guys that bring their bikes, hand them a goodie bag. Give them a goodie bag. They all have a wristband on. So when they show up, because they're going to come right into the game, they're going to walk right up to you. So just make sure they have a wristband on and give them a goodie bag. So I'm doing all my shit. I'm running around. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to him. I'm talking to them. I'm selling T-shirts. I'm putting out fires. And I see Scott, and he's just handing out these bags like to everybody. I say, Scott, I say, what are you doing? I say, oh, just people are loving this. This is a great show, man. Man, I saw something. It's like, Scott, what the fuck are you doing? He said, what? I say, these don't go to everybody. These go just to the people with the wristbands. Oh, so he must have given out like half of the goodie bags to the people that were just walking through the park. So anyways, that was my buddy Scott. So I penalized him. It's like, dude, do me a favor then. I'll have somebody else do the goodie bags. See, I got this Frankenstein mask. Do me a favor. It'll be funny. Go put this mask on and stand next to Frankenstein for a little while so people could take pictures. Dude, he was out there for 2 hours with that mask on. It was hot as hell. So it was my way of getting back to him. Scotty, we love you. Hopefully you're listening. Yeah, Frankenstein was an example of a box of parts That was Gerald's project. LC Customs.
LSC, yeah.
Yeah, LSC. And it sat there, and I looked at it, and then I think I had a Briggs 5-horse that I had bought from James up in
It was the good one, the IC.
the IC.
Yeah, industrial.
And it had on a different coupler. I don't know if it was designed to run a generator or something, but it was the one, and I still have that in there.
Yeah.
What did you do to that? We didn't do too much.
No, it has the lighting coil in it.
Yeah,
still,
that's
behind
right.
the flywheel. Yeah,
And it has that really cool primer, the little bulb with that. You know,
Right.
there's a lot of cool things that
No,
were on that
it was
original head.
It was like a little thing over the spark plug, right? It
Yes.
was like,
Oh, that's right. It was a kill.
the-
It was a kill stop. The stop.
I forgot what it was exactly, but
I took that head off because we swapped the head. That was basically it, an intake, a carb. And it was so fun because most people thought that the lever was like when you're shifting,
Shifter,
it's like,
yeah,
no.
yeah.
So I enjoyed that bike. I still do. It's probably one of my favorites. I got a new white wall tire to replace it just from dry rot more than anything else. But that,
been a while.
It's been a minute. And I used to take that with us when we did ride the AV. Now I ride the other bike, the Temecula Bob long frame that you built. And that bike ran like a clock. Thank you. It ran like a clock.
yeah,
Yep. Very, very
it's a solid bike. That's a great bike.
well. When you're out riding 50 miles on the street, and if you break down your hose, unless you got somebody that wants to help you or a AAA card, or you have the ability and tools to fix it on site, you're pretty hosed. So that dependability and that confidence does make it a little bit more enjoyable.
Right.
What have you been working on? I know that we talked a little bit about the American Racer. What's the status on that? Can you give us any updates?
Yeah. The American Racer is. So I pretty much I cut that frame completely apart. Like it's still the American Racer. I just cut it apart to change some things a little bit. I widened it slightly. I actually the shape of the frame I changed a little bit. You guys will see when I release it. But there's a lot of like subtle things that I did that you'll notice afterwards. But yeah, sheet metal tank, little sheet metal catch can, custom intake, custom exhaust. So it's got a whole lowered stance.
Beautiful. What are we going to do on tires and wheels?
It still has the tires that you gave it to me with right
Okay.
now, but we can definitely do something a little better.
Yeah,
I think.
take a look at those.
Maybe something a little like a slicker tire. Sam stuff. He has the knobby, and then one has like kind of a street tire, maybe more of a street tire,
Cool.
because it has kind of like a off-road street / off-road. But
So check this out. Go to studsracing.com
okay,
and just take a look at whatever, whether it's tire or wheel.
we'll hit up Eric.
Eric is, in fact, we've been running his commercials during the podcast.
Yeah.
Tires. We've got tires. He reminds me of the old car sales shtick guy. It's good to
Yeah.
have those guys back. They'll be out there.
I was just watching Digger's podcast on the way down.
Yeah.
That guy's
D-Walsh.
a trip.
He's the kind of guy that you would enjoy. I've always invited you to come down at any time.
Yeah.
In fact, you could bring Logan. He could sleep in the trailer, but you could take the Grom or the Monkey, and we'll go from my house down there and ride, and then you can crash and go home. But I'd love for you to experience
Yeah.
that group.
I'd love that. That'd be fun.
So we have Tilly that was also given to us by the friends at Go Kart USA. And that was at a time where a lot of folks weren't really using that power plant. It was still pretty much Predator.
Yeah.
What have you seen so far? What do you like about that? Or is that
The Tilson block?
yeah?
Yeah, it's a much better casting. It's a little thicker overall, and then it has like built-in supports for the cylinder. So a lot of times when you soup them up a little bit, put more compression, more cam, they run a little more RPM.
A little more
The
durable.
cylinder will actually eventually break off.
Sure.
So Tilson made it right. They put like supports on top and bottom, so you still have the blow through for the fins, so you still have the cooling ability, but it has like a nice support brace. And then the whole crankcase where the side cover bolts is all a little thicker.
Great. That's some good insight for those of you
No,
listening
it's-
in on that, because there's
yeah.
been some questions about the Tillys and whether or not that's something that those folks should look into.
If you're gonna build an engine and you're gonna stick with cast instead of billet, that's definitely an affordable way to go, and I would highly recommend it because, I mean, it's just cheap insurance for your build. When you're spending tons of money on billet rod, billet crank, flywheel, all this other stuff, you want to make sure you have a solid block to start with,
Yeah, it's all the foundation.
especially
isn't it?
stroker and all that, and then you can stay away from welding gussets and stuff like that where it distorts blocks and things.
I think a lot of engines lie dormant when they explode, and folks just don't want to deal with that. It's almost like it pauses your interest in the hobby. So if you do spend a little bit more money with those engines that have a little bit of more of a solid base to take up all that hop up work that you're going to do, probably pay dividends. Did that have an electric start? I don't know why.
They offer a few different ones. I know different gas. They offer one without a gas tank mount, and then one with a gas tank mount. I don't know. I don't think they offer one.
I don't know why I was thinking for some reason, but I'd be curious to see more
Yeah.
about that. And guys, another reason why you may want to check out the show. what other bikes do you think you'll be rolling out there, Jake? Because one of the bigger draws that we have is having you there and you unveiling the bikes out there. You got a few secrets up your sleeve?
Yeah, without having the show for 2 years, I got two like TC drag bikes that I'm gonna bring out. Like
Great.
Long chromoly, full wheelie bar, big horsepower in these. One of the guys is Clint from Michigan,
Yes.
and then another one is Alfredo's.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so we it was his old drag bike that I originally
I remember
built.
that. Remember he launched that at one of the AV rides, if I recall.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you launched off it
Before
literally.
it had a wheelie bar.
Yeah, you went off of it. I meant he more rolled it
I
out.
learned why the wheelie bar is important the hard way. I went off the side of the street about probably 100 feet out.
That sounds a little bit gruesome. You kind of
It's a
took it
long
in
bike too.
stride.
It's a long extended bike, and that thing just stood straight up.
That bike with wheelie bars is 10
Yeah.
feet, isn't it? Or
No, it's long with wheelie bars. Yeah.
because I
Yeah, it's
remember
pretty
it.
long. I mean, it's small. It's low to the ground, so it's still a mini. I try not to make. I see a lot of these guys building these real big frames and stuff, but I try to stick somewhat to like a traditional mini bike and sizing. And I don't know. I think that's one thing I look at a lot is like sizing of stuff. Like if it doesn't make sense for the mini bike community, I kind of veer away from it a little.
What turns me off is when they go to borderline drag motorbikes that you can see on a drag strip. When they go beyond, like for my bike show, because it's a mini bike show, like I can't have guys rolling in with like 450cc dirt bikes, or I can't have 500cc old Triumph scramblers rolling up. So I made it 300cc maximum. And the reason why I did that is because we're so used to the vintage mini bikes that are the mainstay and kind of the heart of the show, but the growth area has been within the mini moto segment.
Okay.
So I've been trying to be mindful of that. So you've got a couple drag bikes, possibly My American Racer.
Yeah.
What
So
else you got in store?
I got two drag bikes. I got the American Racer, American Flyer. Is it American Flyer or Racer? American Racer.
Yes.
I've always called it Flyer for some reason.
So have I.
That's
I
all
get it.
Go Power Sports, right? Or not Go Power Sports. Go Karts USA.
Yes, one of our former sponsors. Thank you.
Okay, cool.
Because we just missed their name and their bike up.
Sorry, guys.
Hey, if you can't take a fucking joke, okay?
So I got a few other bikes that are coming together real nice too.
Good.
It's actually a couple of my frames that I've built, so it's going to be like my style frame, and those will be all nice, done up, chrome, powder coat, everything completely done, which is cool because I've always brought bikes, bare steel.
Yeah.
The two drag bikes will be bare, just chromoly. It's all like polished chromoly.
I love that look, Jake.
Yeah.
And that's why I've never had you put paint on any of my bikes.
I'll never really veer from that much because that's kind of
That's you.
yeah.
I remember Jesse James used to have kind of a style, and if you look back on the other side of the spectrum, Chip was always high glossy and bright paint. There's builders that have their own style. You have a more of a man. Your welding, I mentioned earlier on a podcast, is just spectacular. Your craftsmanship is I haven't seen anything better. So you're great at that. And at some point we'll have to get something we can put some paint on, but you'll probably have to twist my arm because I bet we could probably really build a nice show bike if we had to.
We could.
But I just don't think of show bikes in that regard when I think of you.
Right.
Jake, how long you been in this game now? When you go back to it now, it's been a few decades at least, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
What is it that still keeps you so into it, so much of a part of mini bikes? What is it, do you think?
I don't know. It's kind of gone in stages for me, really, because like when I first started, I got into mini bikes. Like my buddy had one in high school. I jumped on it, and I instantly just fell in love with it. Just the simplicity and kind of traditional. I was always into hot rods before, so a lot of it comes from the hot rods and Harleys. And my dad was a big hot rod Harley guy. Had Camaros, Tri-5s,
Sure.
Panhead, Harleys and all that. So that just was kind of in me, I think. And then the mini bike was just like something easy. When I was in high school, I didn't have no money. So I was like, oh shoot, this is something I can do. And I can still do all the same stuff that you would do to a hot rod, custom exhaust. You can build the motor up, different wheels, tires. It was kind of like an open canvas, really. And then, I don't know, just creativity from my mom. My mom was always an artist. So I think I got a lot of that creativity from her.
Sure.
Is always looking at something and like wanting to change it and just having a vision, but it's been in stages. Like we had the Verona races. I kind of got out of it a little bit, and then like they started racing at Verona. I think it was like 2011 or something like that. So
I remember you're big on that.
Kind of pulled me out, and I was like, all right. And then I got back into it, building frames again, building motors. That's when I got into the like drag bike thing a little more. But that was fun, like just taking my bike to the track and tuning it, and I don't know, it's like things that got to keep it alive. And then like when your show came up, it was after the drag strip kicked us out, so I kind of like went blank for a little while. I think Charles Mosley was talking about it once on the podcast, but I kind of disappeared for maybe a couple of years, and then I heard about your podcast, and I was like, shit, I had some old bikes sitting there, and I said, okay, let's go. So fixed up a few of them and came out. Yeah.
Boy, when you came out and that first show, I tell this joke. I had more signs, like 3x7 signs, on display than I had mini bikes.
Right.
When you came in and I didn't know you, like everybody was coming in for people that I knew, and all the bikes that I saw were either their bikes or mine. When anybody came in that was like a real participant that had heard about us and got attracted to come in, it was like, man, there was a moment for me. And then to see the caliber, it was like, God, people really do want to have an event like this. And now going on 10 years, you continue to be a mainstay. You continue to give me that same feeling when I see you when you come in. And I think it's not just me, it's many of the other folks that are there when you show up. And I speak on their behalf. I'm certain, Jake, that they all want to thank you for what you've done, what you continue to do. You're inspiring, you're helpful, and you've always been available for me, whether it's building bikes, coming on the podcast, promoting the hobby. And as a result, this is an open invitation for you to be a part of the SEMA Ignited deal. I know it's tough for you to get off. I see those videos of you up at 4 o'clock in the morning dealing with that traffic in Antelope Valley and doing what you got to do to get into the valley, and do that every friggin' day and raising that family. So I know it's not easy, but I've never understood how a guy as talented as you cannot have his own profitable, ass-kicking shop. And honestly, I think someday you will be there. The SEMA Ignited backdrop and forum that we're going to have is, I think, perfect for a guy like you. Let come out Thursday the 13th. The show's the 14th. Have some bikes in my area. Be there to answer any questions. Ride the bikes in the cruise. Bring a bike and bring one of the drag bikes and do some burnouts. Bring MoeFabCo decals and shirts and be a part of this, because the SEMA show, Jake, could just be that place where some opportunity that we didn't think was out there, some introduction, some meet could turn out to be a little bit more than we had all expected. I've got no doubt that a guy like you is still got a ways to go within this community, and we're going to be there to cover that ride. Is there anybody that maybe you'd like to give a shout out to, or anything that I missed that you'd like to bring up before we end the podcast?
Yeah, just want to, not too long ago, we went to breakfast with Minibike Paul, invited a bunch of us out.
Yes.
And that was a great thing. It was cool to see all those guys, because, originally, like when I first came to the show, I didn't really know what to expect. Like my first time I went to JMBR.
Yep.
But it was all the guys that I've been talking to on like the OMB forums.
Yep.
All these guys, like you realize how small the mini bike community is, and then you see all these guys like Mosley. We were racing at the track with Mosley and FMB, and it was just like a reunion of all these guys that I never even got to meet. So that's just another thing that made it cool. But
we'll give a shout out to Paul. And
anyway,
I had the Sandsport Super Swap, which we produce as well in Orange County.
Okay.
And I saw the photo that you posted, and it was you and Paul, Ed, Guardrail, Dave. I thought I also saw Edwin.
Yep, Edwin was out there.
So
came rolling up on his BMX bike.
Frank from FMB,
Yep.
and I
Rafa.
miss Rafa. I would have loved to have been there. I honestly would have been there in a heartbeat. I don't like Bob's Big Boys. Don't get me wrong. I'm an in and out guy, but I still would have went. And I missed it. And let's not forget the fact that Paul's rides and Camarillo were really the only events that was happening on an annual basis that kept everybody in the loop.
Right.
Paul's getting a little bit older in age, and I see that he's confined to his wheelchair just to kind of get around, make things easier. But we've been in touch. He's coming to the show. We're going to celebrate him. And I want to also, before we leave the podcast here, congratulate you. We weren't able to celebrate you during the COVID because there was no event, right? But you, along with Rafa, were a part of not this year's class, but a year or two ago, and you'll be recognized as well as the 3 others or 4 others that we have into the Hall of Fame. We've got a nice little ceremony planned for you, and hopefully I have a chance to to recognize you in front of everybody else. It's well earned.
That's awesome. I appreciate that.
Yep. And finally, anybody else that maybe want to give a shout out to? I know that Courtney's always standing there behind you making.
Oh, yeah, she already knows.
Yeah, she knows. She
Yeah.
knows.
Yeah, no.
Thanks for
she's
sharing
great,
them,
the
Courtney.
kids, yeah.
Good.
Everything's good up there. But yeah, I just wanted to. Was a young guy that lost his life recently.
Yeah, I made a note of it. The guy at 605, Nathan, I think his
Yeah,
name was.
Nathan. There you go. I just want to give a shout out to the families and everything, and can only imagine how hard that is to deal with.
It puts things in perspective.
But yeah, it's like we're all family here.
Yeah.
The mini bike scene's so small that
Yeah.
I mean it's growing quick, but it hurts whenever you see something like that happen. So
Yeah, our
just
condolences again
shout out to those
Nathan's
families.
family as well as the friends from 605 Mini Bikes. There's no denying that. Let's face it, guys. These things can't take you out. They're fun and they're cute and everything, but just be safe, right? Gear up. Yep.
I just gotta. I forgot when you were talking about bikes. One important one is Nick's bike from Prestige.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if I forgot to mention that.
Are you building one for him?
Yeah.
Can you give us just a little bit of a dose here as we kind of close up?
So it's another one where he gave me a frame to begin with,
Okay.
Which I pretty much chopped up.
He was a Motovox dude. Did he give you a Motovox? What did he give you?
No, he gave me. I think it was a custom frame that he had built.
Okay,
actually.
gotcha. One of
But,
his projects.
yeah, I just changed it a little bit. I added like a little backseat section, but
Yeah.
it's a go-kart Fireball performance engine. It's like 125cc two-stroke, and then it runs. It's water-cooled, and it has an axle-driven water pump. So it's got some cool stuff, and that's going to be at JMBR as well.
That will be there?
Yeah.
Well, there you
I got
go.
a lot of work to do.
Shout out to Nick at Prestige.
Yeah,
Nick
definitely.
also
Great
was on the
guy.
podcast not too long ago if you want to check that out. Also, congratulations. They got a nice new home somewhere. You know, it's tough now. Imagine raising kids and trying to buy a house in this day and age, and he's hustling, man. God bless him. I'm very proud of him, too.
No, he's a great
Folks,
guy. He deserves everything.
We've been with Jake Moe from MoeFabCo. It's been a gas. Shit, I could sit here for hours with my man, Jake. Jake, continue to do what you do. I want to give you, again, a big warm thank you for all your support. If you need anything, let me know. Hopefully you'll be with us at SEMA Ignited. Once again, folks, if you're interested in being a part of Joe's Minibike Reunion, go to the website, joesminibikereunion.com. Register now, save money, do all that fun stuff. Want to give a shout out to our friends at Pioneer Car Electronics, where we remind you, don't break up with your car, upgrade it, as well as our new sponsors and our friends from Yoshimura. How about that, Jake? Yoshimura. Mm-hmm. Huh? We'll be
Good
going
stuff.
to Japan before we know it.
All right, let's go.
Go-Kart USA joined us. Go-Kart USA, they're going to have a booth there. They're going to display. They're on the podcast. I'm calling them up tomorrow. We're going to get American Racer. We're going to give that away too, right? So we have mini bikes to give aways. Get in line. Get included. Be a part of it. Also want to give a shout out to the folks who were on our podcast, our last podcast, our friends from Dingo Moto USA. That was a really good podcast, that electric mini bike. Jake, you took a peek at that.
Thing's badass.
Okay, so check them out, under $3,000, but you got to get in line to buy them, folks. It's not like you just go in there and buy 2 or 3 of them. Check them out. They come with an NFT, and if you don't, well, not NFW, NFTs, check them out. They also have just a good spirit. These are guys that are really into this. It's real, it's passionate, and that's something that strikes a chord with me. So check them out as well. It's Joe's Minibike Reunion podcast. Thanks for listening, everybody. Check us out on YouTube and all that good stuff, and we'll see you the next time.
Joe's Minibike Show.